morning, everybody. It's Jean here, Jean Truelove from Truelove Quilts for You. Wish my sewing room was outside. It's just so lovely. It's a little bit hot here in Pennsylvania. Not too bad though. A little bit muggy, just a little bit muggy. I'm frizzing up as I sit. I'm working on my Dear Jean quilt, my block party quilt, my sampler quilt. And as you know, quite a few of you people have actually finished the quilt as it was with the flying geese border around it. If you're new to this channel, I'm making a sampler quilt. The entire, from beginning to this point here, with the borders around it, the 3 different size blocks are on my playlist, Jean's playlist, Jean's Block Party 2021. This is my 3rd block party that I've done, 2018, 2019, and then 2021. I wanted to sort of challenge myself to make a quilt with different size blocks, because a sampler quilt is usually just block after block the same exact size. So this one I've changed it up a little bit. I've never done this myself. I'm trying to figure out 3 different size blocks and then all the sashings, and it actually worked out, and people who've been following along, it's worked out for them. I'm on block number 14. It's not 14 blocks, you know, blah blah blah. We've made quite a few different blocks. We've made multiple of blocks, and this one I also have. Although I've done a tutorial, I'll just show you, hold on. I've done a tutorial, I'll put this back here, on this block here. This, without further ado, is my block number 14, okay? And it's a star block. I remember I was saying I was going to be doing a few more star blocks. Now this block, I started out with the dark. There's 3 fabrics in this: the light, the medium, and the dark. I started out with the light, the dark to the medium, and then I changed it up when I was messing about on my design board. I mean, as you can do. They're basically a 9 patch with flying geese here. Okay, these are the 4 flying geese units, but these flying geese units here, which are constructed at the end of the day the exact same way, but they do have a two pieces of fabric to make up the star, 2 small little triangles. Now, I tout myself. Now, I pride myself that I'm making a beginner's quilt. This, I don't know myself as an experienced quilter what deems an advanced block. I would suppose it's just a block with tons of pieces. This has more pieces than our standard 4 patch, right, or a 9 patch. But the smaller pieces, you just have to be a little bit more careful and just take it a bit slower. That's all. I keep emphasizing you want to keep your 1/4 inch seam allowance. Your tendency might be to want to make a smaller seam allowance working with smaller pieces. But it's still, I did not find it daunting. I was trying to look at it through a beginner's eyes, their perspective of this block, and I think it's okay. We've done, if you have followed along, quite a few different methods and ways to make a block, different skill sets that you've put down. So I think this is a very interesting block. Now, I have shown you the finished block. That this is the one I've done my tutorial on. As you can see, it's 3 different fabrics: light, medium, and dark. When I was setting this block out, I had actually put the darker orange next to the light, so it was a little bit more woof, whereas this is just more subtle. This is more like almost an ombre going from light out to dark. I show you can change up the way that you put these triangles to change your quilt block. Now, I also tell you that you can have, this is light, this is a light background with a dark star. What have I done here? I've done a dark background with a light star. Boy, does that pop. I always say when I look through the viewfinder, my quilt blocks really pop that may be something that you might want to do if you're having a little bit of a difficult time choosing colors or hues or tints or shades, also everything to make your block sing a little bit. Take a picture on your phone perhaps with a black and white setting, and then you will see that, oh, in black and white, that dark is miles too dark. It just stands out. Or the light is a little bit insipid. You need a little bit more of a color. It's a very good way. For me, it's looking through the viewfinder. I looked through the viewfinder at this when it was darker, and I liked it. I liked it a lot, but then I thought, oh, I'm going to change it up slightly. And then this, like I said, this just sort of made it glow a little bit more. It was very nice the other way. This one, I fussy cut. I don't do a tutorial on this. This is like a PS at the end of my whole tutorial. I just sort of, I enjoyed making this so much that I thought, before I went to edit this video, I thought, oh, I think I'll just make a darker one. And I quickly cut it out, and then I just put it together on my design board, as you will see at the very, very, very end. And then I hadn't sewed it or anything, but I've sewn this one. I did a little bit better job on this one. This isn't great. I don't know. I was a little bit frazzled from our last vacation, if you remember the last few videos. Oh my word. So quite a few people are like, you're really complaining a lot. And I'm thinking, oh, I did. I always try to be positive, but I was complaining. In general, we had a lovely, our son got married, we went with the grandchildren, that was all lovely. We went to a beautiful butterfly farm. It was awesome. But then there were bits that were just horrible, as you know, and I complained a lot. But never mind, I'm allowed to, I'm old, right? But anyway, this is my block. I've come back and I've done this one. This one, in my tutorial, I messed up a little bit. I cut off a few, no, I didn't cut them off. I will do if I made 1/4 of an inch. I don't know what happened, because I did cut it out properly. I'm certainly not going to redo it. You know, I don't know what happened. I'm actually trying to think, because I get to one point, I'm like I have like 1/4 inch hanging out. I'm thinking, what the heck happened there? I don't know. But I just sort of fudged it. My other tutorials are awesome, right? They almost always end up perfect. It did end up a 6.5 inch unfinished block, as did this one. But again, there's just 1 or 2 points that are a little bit messed up. This one's good. That's a 1/4 inch. That's a 1/4 inch. That's not too much of a 1/4 inch. Yeah, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. But again, I'm looking at this again through my camera, and man, isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing, the difference of fabric placement? Obviously, you want contrast. I beat the dead horse, don't I? I'm always like contrast, contrast, contrast. But you really do. You really do want a high contrast. This is more of a muted, and I say like an ombre, but this is like bam. And it's a really nice little block to cut out this 3.5 inch square to make a fussy cut. This is my tutorial that I've done. This fabric here is the exact same fabric. This, because I fussy cut, this is just picking up a darker purple. But this, and I don't know if you can see it because it's very subtle, but I used a red and white dot and a black and white dot, whereas this one is the orange and the yellow. So that's my block. You people who are following me, loyal to the end, I really appreciate it. And yeah, as always, I hope you enjoy this, and as always, love from the Trueloves. All right, see you folks. Bye. Cutting instructions for block number 14, which will hopefully end up a darker star on a lighter background. Sometimes you have a light star on a darker background, but this is a bit of a darker two-tone star, hopefully, on the lighter background. As you can see, I've chosen these, oops, my shadow. I've chosen these fabrics, which are, again, nice contrast. For our lightest fabric, for the center and the outside bits, you are going to be, hopefully you'll have seen it in the beginning, you're going to be needing to cut 3 pieces. This is a neutral that I had. Again, a nice light fabric for this star. Again, if you want to use a dark with lights, you could. But I'm using fabric A, which is my cream and yellow dot. I've cut three different shapes here. I've cut one piece 4 1/4 inches. One piece 4 1/4. Okay? I've cut one piece 3 1/2 inches. Okay? 3 1/2. And I've cut 4 pieces at 2 inches square. Okay? That's 2 inches square. That's fabric A, my light. My fabric B, which is the lighter of the two, I have a lighter and a darker. Obviously it's light, medium, dark. So my medium fabric. Fabric B, which is my yellow fabric here, which has a little bit of pink. But we're going to be subcutting these two here. Fabric B, I've cut 2 squares, 2 3/4 inches. Okay? Fabric B, 2 3/4 inches. I've done the exact same thing with my fabric C, which is my darker of the 3 fabrics. I've cut 2 pieces, 2 squares, 2 3/4 inches. Now I'm going to show you how I'm going to subcut these so we make our star. So I have my fabrics here. Just move this around here. And I'm going to grab my fabric A. I'm going to be grabbing the 4 1/4 inch square. Okay, I'm going to be grabbing the 4 1/4 inch square. I'm going to be putting it on my mat here. And I think I can use, let me just move my tripod out of here. I think I can use this. I can use just any ruler you have, straight edge. I'm going to be cutting this in diagonally twice. I'm going to be cutting from diagonal to diagonal and then shift it and cutting again from the other diagonal. I'm going to be making 4 pieces of this. I'm going to be lining my ruler right up, and then again, to allow for the blade, you want to just go one thread into this in here to allow for the size of the blade there. Okay, just almost to diagonal. Hold it carefully, close your blade, pick up your ruler so as not to shift your fabric, and then I'm going to come back here, lay my ruler down, do the exact same thing, just going diagonal to diagonal. Go slowly, and there I have 4 triangles. Okay, and I'll just put them over here. Now I'm going to be picking up both my medium fabric and my dark fabric, and I'm going to be doing the exact same thing. I'm going to be cutting these again on the diagonal. Even these are smaller, my smaller bits. I'm going to be cutting these on the diagonal. So as you can see, we have very small pieces here, but we're still basically just making, this basically is a 4 grid unit, okay? I will have explained that in the beginning. Just we're working with a bit smaller pieces, but that doesn't need to daunt you. This is still, even though they're small pieces, this is still what I consider taking it slowly, taking it steadily, a beginner block. Any quilt block, if you just break it down, it can become fairly simple. Again, just using smaller pieces, and then you just have to be a little bit more careful. So then I'll get to how we're going to put this together. So I've got my design board, and I'm going to be laying out, obviously without the seam allowances, I'm going to be laying out my block here, okay? I've already started. What I've done is I have put the 2-inch squares at the very corners, the top corners, and then my larger one that I've subcut, and then these 2 subcuts, okay? So these are my triangles. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to be taking my 3 1/2-inch square and putting that in the middle. Again, obviously we don't have seam allowances, so let's not worry about that. Now I'm going to be taking my dark, which my dark triangles, my darkest triangles, are going to be going next to my lightest triangles. That's why it's sort of light, dark, light out to my star here, okay? I'm going to be putting that like that. And then my next triangle is going to be going this way on here, okay? And I'll just do this side over here. That's when, and again, I'll show you in depth how I'm going to be sewing these. This is just laying these out like this, carefully. I'm going to take my next triangle and put that there, and put that there. Have to finish. You can see my star already beginning to take shape. And I'm going to be putting it like this. And like this. And again, I'll show you in depth how I'm going to be sewing these. But you get the idea, or I like to get the idea of how my star, look at that, how my star is taking place right now. So I take my last two dark, or my last for this side. I'm going to be going here and here. So the long bit on my triangle, and then I'm going to be the side here. Let me see. Yeah, the side here. That's it. And again, you can see you have to be careful. You have to be careful with the placement of this. It's just a lot of little pieces of fabric, but once we get to it, it's not hard. Okay? So then when I go to sew that there's my lovely star. You see that? Now that didn't take too long, but there are a lot of pieces in it. By all means, if you would want to change up your star configuration and having your lighter fabric exploding out to the star, let's see what that looks like. Yes, I like that. I like that. That's sort of like, oh, radiating out the sun to the darker part. I like that very, very much. I think that's very pretty. So this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be taking this over now to my sewing machine, and I'm just going to start very carefully taking it from my design board to my sewing machine, putting it back on my design board, unit by unit by unit, and I'll show you how I do that. So I've made sure that my sewing machine is all nice and set up, and for a block with so many pieces, it's not hard, but it's very important, I think, that you have it set out in front of you, that you can see exactly what goes where, okay? Because we are working with a number of smaller pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to concentrate right now. I'm going to concentrate on my bottom row. What I want to do, though, I want to sew the dark and the lighter small triangles together. I'm pulling them off exactly as they come off of my design board, okay? Now this, it's going to put pretty sides together, and since I've cut them the exact same size, I'm very careful that I'm going to be still stitching them at 1/4 of an inch. Very important that they get stitched at 1/4 of an inch. Pinch and pull, because we're working with very small units now. And what I'm going to do is I am going to just sort of finger press that to the dark. There's a dog ear there, don't worry about that. I'm going to place that back on my board. It may be like, you know, you might think, oh, you're doing so many, you know, you're sewing and putting it back, but I think in order to not get confused, okay? So I'm doing putting the pretty side over to the pretty side. And again, you could get like, oh, which triangle side goes where? And so when you do it visually and you have it in front of you, again, making sure you're using your 1/4 inch seam. It's very important. Don't be lulled into thinking, oh, I'm working with smaller pieces, so I'll make a smaller seam. Okay, so now look what we have here. We have this center bottom unit here. So I'm going to pick this one up. I've pressed that seam over. I'm going to pick this up here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretty side, keeping track of that seam going to the dark. I'm going to line up that bottom edge there, okay? And what does that mean? That means you're going to be having this triangle hanging over. That's exactly what we want, okay? I'm going to be putting that under my machine. Go slowly. And then I'm going to be coming right to that intersection right there where that triangle little dog ear comes off. I'm going to pull that. I'm going to trim it up very carefully because these are on the bias, but once we get them going, it's fine. So it's almost like a little flying geese unit with a little bit of a, this is my geese, but my sky, okay? So now, what is very important is you're going to be wanting to press this seam, okay, finger press that to the inside, all right? And then, again, configuring it, you're wanting to be putting this next unit, making sure your bottom edge is nice and squared with that triangle. You see that? And then what do you have? You have a nice triangle dog ear up there. Okay, I'm going to put my needle right down in that intersection there, and I'm going to come 1/4 of an inch. Now we have made, if you're following to this point, we've made a whole bunch of flying geese. So this is just a sort of a little bit more of a complicated flying geese. And there, what do we have? Now remember when we made our flying geese, when I get all of these seams, you're thinking, oh no, but when I go to iron this, I'm going to spritz it real well, and then very carefully, I'm going to be pressing to the inside. And what happens with that little dog ear? That little dog ear goes straight across. You see that? That little dog ear, when we go to press it, goes straight across. Okay, I've not ironed anything yet. I have just finger pressed it. And there's my little unit right there. Okay? There's my little unit right there. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up my bottom row, and I'm on my bottom here, and I'm going to line up the top edge and that bottom edge. There are dog ears here. Don't worry about them right now. We've sort of finger pressed this. This edge is nice and square, this edge is nice and square, and that edge is nice and square, with a dog ear here and a dog ear there. And a dog ear everywhere. So now I'm just going to come down, making sure these dog ears are out of my way. 1/4 inch seam. It's a little fiddly, but it's not hard. I mean, you know, what's hard about, if you've watched me do this? And there's a little dog ear. Look at that tiny little squares, the little tiny little, I could have, oh, it's a little bit, no, it's about 1/4, oh boy. It's about 1/8 of an inch. Yeah, it's okay. It's all right. I can fudge it. And there we go. Okay? Now, I've not pressed anything. That would probably have helped. But I'm just lining that up. I didn't line up that too well. Never mind. So there's my dog ear there. My dog ear is going that way, and this one's coming this way. I'll put my needle down right in that intersection there. Careful, it's 1/4 of an inch. It is a fiddly little unit here, but again, it's not hard. Okay? And there is my bottom row. All right? When I go to iron that, when I go to press that, and I starch it, it'll lay nice and flat. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing with this row. Keep this one out of the way here. Keep that one out of the way, and I'll just pick up this unit here. Again, keeping my visual. I want to be putting this shorter end on that shorter end. Pretty sides together. Right sides together. Since we've cut them perfectly. Pinch, pull, as so not to stress that seam. And again, I'm sort of finger pressing over to the dark. Gently, ever so gently, placing it back down. I'm going to be picking this one up, doing the exact same thing. That's a little bit small. That was a little bit small, but I think it'll be okay. And again, that goes like that. All right, and then I'm just going to be making, again, this flying geese unit here. So I'm going to be picking it up, configuring it that way, and I'm going to be having this straight edge and this straight edge. And then I have my seam going toward the dark. Then I have this dog ear at the top here. Just go slowly with this, because at this point we're really working with smaller pieces. But if you've come along so far on my Dear Jean quilt here, then you've really, you're probably a lot more comfortable using the smaller pieces, as you can see. So I'm going to be laying that one pretty side over. The important part is lining this edge up and this bottom edge here on that triangle. And tucking that other end in. You will have dog ears here. There. And the reason that we have that is that we have a 1/4 inch seam there, we have a 1/4 inch seam there. And when I really go to my last press, I could go press that top edge is going to just go right over and square it up right there. So I'm just going to continue. Did our flying geese units, I'm going to very carefully, oops, let me just come around here. I'm just going to very carefully give this a spritz. I have a little bit of sizing right there, and very, very carefully with my fingers, I'm going to just, it's a bit fiddly to set the seams, but I'm just going to just sort of set them as I go along now. And remember, I haven't trimmed off any dog ears. This dog ear here, that you think, oh, it's all sticking up right there. What I do is I'm pressing everything into this, the light. Okay, now it is going to the lighter side, but I'm okay with that because that's making that nice squared off unit there without having to trim off that dog ear. I'm finger pressing the seams up here to the dark on the actual little sky there, and I do have these 2 dog ears at the bottom there. Here's my block, okay? And now, again, I've already done this one. I've already done that bottom one. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over and I'm going to do this one, and then that row and that. So I've already done my bottom row. I'm going to pick up my second row, making sure my configuration is right. And I'm going to put the pretty side over to the pretty side. And that flying geese unit should measure 3.5 inches, which it does. I'm leaving the dog ears in because my needle, I'm putting my needle down right where that dog ear is there and then comes back down here, 1/4 inch. So I'll just give this a shot of some spray there. And I see that seam wants to go that way. Or does it? No, it doesn't. Actually, it wants to go that way. I always say, let the seams tell you where they want to go. That's where, for the most part. There are some rules, obviously, some, press to the dark. But sometimes your fabric just wants to go the way it wants to go. Now that's interesting because that seam's going that way and this one's going that way. And so I'm going to press it like that. That's fine. So here's my square. Oh, look at that. Yes, it's too big. Oh, isn't that wonderful? Isn't that wonderful? So now I go to trim it up, get rid of all these dog ears, get rid of all of this. That right there in the middle. Sort of equal on all sides. I know there's a formula for it. And the formula for me is getting my 1/4 inch is up here. That one's sort of cut off. These are okay. It's pretty okay except that one. That one got really messed up. But I'm not bothered that it's sort of cut off. It's okay. So just trim that one up there. Trim that there. And then these two here. And I have cut off a few, two of my points, but it's okay. It measures 6.5 inches. And there is a pretty star. Look at that. It looks like a sun. This is my sun block. Really, really pretty. Cut off that point and that point. But that's okay. I'm okay with that. There'll just be slightly smaller seam there, or a little bit of a cut-off point. I don't know what happened there. So yeah, okay. I do hope you enjoy this. My block number 14 of my block party. All right, folks. Thank you so much. And again, love from the Trueloves. Bye-bye. P.S. everybody. I enjoyed making that block so much that I thought I'm going to really quickly cut out, just fussy cut a piece in the dark, and then have my light, bright star. I'm going to put this together. You'll have seen this in the beginning, but I just wanted to see. I thought, well, I'm telling you, you can do that, but I wanted to show you the impact of if you reverse your colorways and have your bright white star or bright light star. These you may not be able to see. These are my gray and white, and then my white with a dot, with a red dot. But they just sort of all blend in neutral. But up close you can see the little red and white dot. So there you go. I'm going to put it together. Hopefully I'll have a 6.5 inch, and I have one more block in my quilt. I've just done this. I've just put this on. This is how I keep track of them. My block 14. But look there, folks, at the difference. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? The exact same block, different colorways. Light and dark and light. So there you go. I'm going to put this together, and you'll have seen that in the beginning. All right, again, love from the Trueloves.